Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Cynthia, and as always, happy to be here recording another episode for you guys. And I hope you all are having a great day, a great start to your day, or evening, depending what time you listen to this podcast. I know the last time I spoke to you guys, it was a couple days ago. In these last couple of days, actually, a lot has changed for me. So I actually joined this investing trading academy to essentially learn how to trade, in the foreign exchange market, and basically how to make my money work for me and not me work for my money and multiply my money. So I'm learning that skill set right now, and I'm really excited. It's a lot of work, though. I will say it's definitely going to take me a while to really nail this down. Again, I'm entering a whole new field I have zero knowledge about. It's all about, numbers, and you guys, I am terrible at math. Numbers have never been my forte. So this is definitely a challenge for me, but I mean, the only way to make yourself grow is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I know in the long run, this is going to help me out and I will reap the benefits. I just have to keep at it, continue to learn and grow from all this. And hopefully, again, I'm able to see this money multiply. So that's something exciting that I did over the last 48 hours. And besides that, nothing much, y'all. Let's get into what we're here to talk about: weight loss journey and frequently asked questions. So if this is your first time tuning in to me hosting the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, in previous episodes, I very briefly touched on my weight loss journey, not too much in depth. This probably is my most asked question, how did you lose weight? How did you lose fat so quickly? How can I lose weight here? How can I get my stomach flat? How can I lose this amount of pounds in the amount of days? Anything and everything related to weight loss, fat loss seems to be the hot topic with me and in general with the health and fitness world. It's always the number one asked question, like, how can I lose weight? How can I lose fat in this specific area? And this is largely due to my personal fat loss experience. And I like to call my experience my fat loss journey rather than my weight loss journey. Just because I feel like dropping body fat percentage is more important than what number is on the scale. When I was going through my weight loss / fat loss journey, I wasn't focused on how much I was weighing. In fact, I didn't weigh myself at all. Like, I didn't step on the scale at all. The way how I pretty much was looking at my progress was, how was I feeling in my clothes? How was I performance wise? How was I doing in the gym? Form. Was I lifting heavier? All of that stuff. And I just thought it was a really good topic to discuss on today's episode. Again, I get asked all of these questions all the time. And if you guys had a chance to tune into the fitness podcast, I forget exactly which episode number it is, but I think it's just titled My Weight Loss Journey. I actually described my humble beginnings in the fitness world. So I'll bring it onto the health and wellness side because I know it's two different audiences. So I've always been more on the thicker side, meaning more meat on my bones. I wasn't overweight, but I wasn't thin either. I was somewhere in between. I was always active, but not always healthy. I played sports growing up. I played basketball and did cheerleading, but I didn't understand the importance of weight training and proper nutrition and diet. All I did was show up to my practices and thought, this should be enough for me. Like, I'm getting enough exercise in my day, just doing a whole bunch of suicides basically and running all these miles. So that's kind of how it started with me. I was very cardio focused, also because my coaches were also cardio focused individuals. I also went through a party girl phase in my life, as most of us did, I'm sure. I was going out about 3 to 4 times a week, partying, drinking, eating tacos, burgers, and all other greasy foods after a night out. Y'all know how that goes. You drink, you leave the club, you leave the bar, and you're hungry, and you 9 times out of 10 aim for greasy food. I was also door dashing the majority of my meals. My water intake was trash, non-existent basically. From the outside, I looked good. I may have looked like I was air quote in shape, but my insides were suffering. And to top it all off, I was, like I said, a cardio junkie. Believe it or not, I used to be one of those people who would show up to the gym and stick to the elliptical, Stairmaster, or treadmill because that's all I knew and that's all I was comfortable doing. I didn't want to look like a fool in front of everyone trying to lift weights, and that gym anxiety we've all experienced at least once in our lifetime, and that's real. And although I've been working out now for 3 years consistently, I still sometimes get a little bit of that gym anxiety, but that's mainly when I enter a new space. Like if I go take a fitness class in a new studio, I do get a tiny bit of anxiety, but not as bad as I used to. Let me know in the comments if you used to be just like me. When you started out in your fitness journey, you stuck to what was safe and stuck to, the cardio equipment. I'm guilty of it. Don't be ashamed. We've all been there. But then I started dating someone, my boyfriend, and just by looking at his physique, you would be able to tell that he lifts weights and that he was in the gym. He also was a college athlete, so weightlifting was part of his job. So he really was the one who motivated me to start lifting weights. And luckily, I also had a couple of friends at the time who worked at a gym, and they would invite me to work out with them. So I basically had a free membership to this gym for about a year until one of them quit and then the other one got fired. But by that time, I had immensely fallen in love with training, weight training specifically, and my fascination for human movement and healthy foods and just healthy living in general started to skyrocket. And by that time, I'd say by the end of my first year of training, I was working out 5 times a week. And when I mean training, I mean lifting weights, not staying on cardio equipment how I used to. I stopped drinking for 6 months straight. I switched out my DoorDash app for some cooking supplies to start making my home cooked meals. I started to track my water intake, and by doing all of these things consistently every day and being patient with my results, I was able to lose about 30 pounds of fat in a matter of 6 months. That's crazy, you guys. Like, that's insanely fast. 6 months, 30 pounds of fat. I was able to completely transform my physique in that short amount of time. And you want to know why? I wasn't fixated on the number on the scale. I wasn't stressed out about dropping fat or losing weight. I didn't beat myself up if one day I ate like complete trash. I just did better the next day. That's all I could do, like I'll do better the next day. But most importantly, I wasn't focused on trying to look good. I was mainly training and working out to feel good on the inside and for overall health. And this was 6 months of consistent hard work, patience, and discipline. Those are the 3 most important things that I tell my clients and just anybody who asks me, how were you able to do that? How were you able to do that in those 6 months, in that short amount of time? I always tell them consistency, patience, and discipline. You need all of those 3 things in order to succeed when it comes to your health and fitness goals. And I'll dive more into the importance of each of these 3 virtues after this commercial break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So in the previous segment, I started to introduce to you guys the 3 most important virtues I think everyone needs to become successful in their health and wellness journey, and that is consistency, patience, and discipline. So let's talk about consistency a little bit. This concept can basically be applied to pretty much anything in our life, right? Say, for example, if you want to gain or learn a new skill, such as how to do the splits, or in my case, I just signed up for, this trading investing academy. That's going to take consistency and a lot of practice and repetition. So repeatedly doing this over and over again, which requires consistency. If you want to learn how to dance and knock out choreography, in a dance class right away, that takes practice and repetition. Again, this requires consistently taking dance classes. Same applies for exercise and training. If you have a goal such as fat loss, that's going to require you to establish healthy eating habits and training over a prolonged period of time. You have to consistently go to the gym. You can't go for 1 week and then the next week fall off and just decide to skip out for the whole week. You can't eat super clean for 1 week and then the next week, binge eating pizza, tacos, and donuts. You won't make progress that way. And I believe the reason why people are so up and down with their training and healthy eating habits and why their journeys are just super inconsistent is because they go from 0 to 100. And I've been there. That's why I'm speaking from experience. That's what I want everyone to know. Like, I understand the struggle because I've been through it. Okay. So I was there. People, partake in these yo-yo diets, fad diets. They'll deprive themselves of food because they think if they eat less, they'll drop weight. They'll try to take the shortcut by doing detox teas and all these other ridiculous promotions that Instagram influencers promote through their channels, or whatever the case may be. People tend to jump the gun too fast because they want to reach their goals, lightning speed. There needs to be a gradual shift from your old habits to the new ones. Like in my case, I was originally going out 3 to 4 times a week and drinking. And how I was able to go from that to 6 months of absolutely no partying, no drinking successfully was by gradually decreasing how many times I would go out. So I would give myself the rule when I started to work out and everything. I gave myself the rule to only go out and drink Saturdays and Sundays twice a week. And yes, Sundays, I know Holy Sunday's bad, but there were things popping on a Sunday, okay, in the Bay Area. So Saturdays and Sundays twice a week. So then after a couple of weeks, I'd say only on Saturdays. Saturdays were my only days to go out, drink, whatever. Reducing to once a week. So going from 3 to 4 times a week to once a week. Gradually decreasing until eventually I got to the point where I didn't care to go out at all. I didn't think about going out. I didn't think about drinking. And that's how I was able to stay away from alcohol for 6 months. So my number one tip I can give you all is to establish habits that you'll be able to keep and do them gradually and consistently. Don't jump the gun. Don't go from 0 to 100. Okay? Whatever your goal is, remember this is a lifestyle change, not a diet. Lifestyle changes require consistency and they're sustainable. Diets typically aren't that sustainable and are short-term and temporary. Simply put, there are 2 main reasons why people aren't able to lose weight. One, we just talked about is consistency. People are not being consistent with their training and proper nutrition. And the second one is patience. Patience is truly a virtue, people. Okay, let's talk about it. When you are not patient with your results and you try to rush them, that's when typically you stress and worry kicks in. When stress and worry kicks in, that hinders your progress, literally. Stress is not good for your immune system. And if your immune system is crap, then you're stuck, okay? Stress is literally not good for the body and that will hinder your results. People stress because they are comparing their results to others, which is a huge no-no. And trust me, I've been there. I'm still there. I get it. It's really hard not to compare yourself to other people you see on Instagram or as someone else you see on the street. Like, it's very hard to not compare. And this is something I'm constantly working on my own. But we need to understand this is absolutely detrimental to your health, your mental health specifically, comparison. Like, we just cannot compare ourselves to other people and our progress to others. Just because it took me, 6 months to completely transform my body and drop fat, that doesn't mean that that's the timeline in which everyone should follow and everyone should be able to drop fat. It may take some people 8 months to drop. It may take 4 months, a year, 2 years. My point is, the timeline doesn't matter. And this is one of my favorite sayings. Don't compare your day 1 to someone's day 100. That is by far one of my favorite quotes ever. And that's honestly what helps me When I do get in, in mental situations where I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm comparing myself to other fitness models and fitness influencers, I literally say this to myself 3 times. Don't compare your day 1 to someone else's day 100. Don't compare your day 1 to someone else's day 100. Don't compare your day 1 to someone else's day 100. And that quickly just gets me out of my own head. Like, girl, just focus on you. Stay in your own lane. Don't worry about anybody else, okay? And just go at your own pace. Don't worry about what the next person is doing. Don't stress over the fact that it's been 6 months and you haven't been able to drop weight as quickly as your friend did or as you would have liked. All you can do is stay consistent and be patient. If you do those 2 things, I promise you guys, you will see results. Okay? Consistency and patience. Here's another pretty popular question I get asked frequently. How do I stay motivated? And I mean, this is a common question I get, and I understand why, because especially during these times of quarantine, it's very hard to stay motivated. And here's a couple of things I have to do to remind myself to stay motivated. First things first. This is what helps me a lot. I look at old pictures of myself, of how I used to look like, of how I used to feel like. And that quickly gets me, out of bed and start working out. So definitely comparing, my current pictures to my old ones lets me, visually see like, okay, I've come a long way. I've made some progress. And I look at that old photo of mine. One, I'll be like, oh my God, I used to be so thick. But 2, I also try to remember, like, I wasn't feeling extremely confident during that time, and I don't want to get to that place ever again. So that quickly, lights a fire in my rear end and gets me to work out. But more importantly, more than me looking at old pictures of myself to motivate myself, I don't think it has so much to do with motivation, but more with discipline. Anybody can be motivated or have motivation to do something, right? But if motivation lacks discipline, then you won't get very far, and motivation is pretty much pointless. I mean, like I said, there are many days when I'm not motivated, especially now in quarantine. Home workouts have been a challenge for me. There are too many distractions in my house, from my dog to my loud family, and, the fridge being a few steps away. It's hard. It's really hard to stay motivated at home. But motivation isn't what gets me out of bed. It's discipline. It's being self-disciplined. It's doing things that I may not necessarily want to do or like to do, but I know that in the long run, my body will thank me for it. I always try to put myself in this other state of mind. Long-term gratification over short-term gratification. This is another daily mantra that I love to live by. Short-term gratification looks like eating that cookie instead of drinking a protein shake to satisfy that sugar craving you have. Short-term gratification is watching Netflix because you are feeling lazy instead of doing a quick 10-minute ab workout. Motivation without discipline is pointless. And how can you be more disciplined? Here are some of the things that helped me try to, be more disciplined. I'd say know your weaknesses, recognize your weaknesses, create a clear plan of action that you'll follow, execute that plan, and remove temptations such as that cookie or, whatever the temptation it is. It may be your phone, technology. It may be you need to physically remove yourself from a specific person who's like just holding you down. Like, go work outside if working out inside next to your significant other is going to be a distraction. So remove temptations, know your weaknesses, recognize your weaknesses, create a clear plan of action, and execute that plan. And again, those are the founding fathers, I say, of success in your health and fitness journey, whether you are trying to lose weight, drop body fat, maintain, or gain weight. Consistency, patience, and discipline. And you guys, we're going to cut into another very brief break. When we come back, we're switching gears and we're going to be talking about calorie deficit. I want to talk to you guys about this amazing product I've been using lately called Hydrant. If you're like me and you want to kick the coffee habit, but you're worried about your energy levels depleting, to avoid the morning sluggishness and that midday slump, you need to make sure you're hydrated. It's super important. And that's where I've been using Hydrant. And for 25% off your first order, you can go to drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC at checkout. Hydrant is basically flavored electrolyte packets you mix directly into your water to make hydrating your body easy and delicious. And what I love about Hydrant, it's backed by research. The formula was developed by Oxford scientists to provide perfectly balanced, efficient hydration. Again, that's drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC for 25% off your first order. Another really cool thing about Hydrant, there's no synthetic colors or artificial sweeteners. The formula is vegan and you can choose between 3 different flavors or a variety pack. So for all my vegan friendly fellows out there, this one's for you. Again, this is drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So in the previous segment, we were talking about, the founding fathers in my book when it comes to success in your health and fitness journey, which again are consistency, patience, and discipline. So we're going to switch channels here a little bit. And we're going to be, I'm done going Tony Robbins on you guys with my motivational talk. Let's discuss how you can actually drop weight, lose that stubborn fat. I know that's what you guys are here for, and I'm going to tell you. This idea is simple, so simple that people won't believe it and will try to overcomplicate the situation, the concept. Fat loss is straight to the point. It's pretty straight to the point, and it's called eating in a calorie deficit or caloric deficit. People are literally shocked to find out that I didn't do any special treatments or quick fixes or diets or, anything extreme or any crazy amount of cardio to drop the fat that I did. I was in a calorie deficit. And this is truly the only way, most sustainable and healthy way to shed weight. If you've ever tried to lose weight, you've likely heard this term of calorie deficit. Yet you may wonder exactly what it involves, what it entails, why it's necessary for weight loss. What does it mean? So in the simplest terms, all calorie deficit means is that you're burning more calories and consuming less. You are expending more and eating less. But don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused, y'all. This doesn't mean you have to starve yourself to death or that you cut your calories to 500 a day. That's ridiculously low. And if you are currently working with a health coach and they tell you to cut your calories that low, then you need to fire them and rehire somebody else, because that is not true, okay? And that is just not healthy. So let's gonna break it down to the basics. What exactly are calories? Calories are the units of energy you get from foods and beverages, as most of you may already know. And when you consume fewer calories than you burn, you achieve a calorie deficit. It's really that simple. The calories you burn or expend each day, also known as calorie expenditure, include the following three components. So I'm going to get a little bit nerdy here for you guys, so stay with me. The first component of calorie expenditure, or the first way to burn calories throughout the day, is your resting energy expenditure, also known as REE. So your REE refers to the calories your body uses at rest for functions that keep you alive, such as breathing and blood circulation. So this is basically your resting metabolism rate. Like if you were completely sedentary, didn't do anything for the entire day, this is the amount of calories you would burn just to keep your body functioning. Okay, so that's the first component of calorie expenditure. The second way to burn or expend calories a day is called thermic effect of food. This involves the calorie your body expends or burns digesting, absorbing, and metabolizing food. Okay? Third and final component of calorie expenditure or burning calories is activity energy expenditure. This refers to the calories you expend during sports like exercise and non-exercise related activities, including like household chores, gardening, things of that sort. So activity. If you provide your body fewer calories than it needs to support these three components of calorie expenditure, you put your body into a calorie deficit. Doing so consistently for long periods result in weight loss, okay? And conversely, you will gain weight if you regularly provide your body with more calories than it needs to support these functions. This is called a calorie surplus. It's truly that simple, you guys. You are just needing to burn more calories than you are consuming, okay? That's all a calorie deficit is. That's all it means to be in a caloric deficit. So now that you got the basics down of what a calorie deficit is, how do you calculate your calorie needs? So how can you figure out exactly how many calories you're eating and where your deficit is? Because right now we all have a maintenance calories. And maintenance calories is what we eat, basically on a normal day. And this doesn't make us lose weight nor gain weight. So that's your maintenance calories. So that's the first thing you need to figure out. For most people, a calorie deficit of 500 calories per day is sufficient for weight loss and unlikely to significantly affect your hunger or energy levels. To create this calorie deficit, you need to know that your maintenance calories are, or what they are. Again, maintenance calories are precisely the number of calories your body needs to support energy expenditure. You can use calorie calculators like the Body Weight Planner from the National Institute of Health. Such calculators, such as that one, estimate your maintenance calories based on your weight, sex, age, height, and physical activity level. Though calorie calculators provide a good idea of your maintenance calorie needs, you can get a more precise number by tracking your calorie intake and weight for 10 days. This is usually what I recommend my clients. I always tell them, track your calories for 2 weeks max, 10 to 14 days. While maintaining the same level of daily activity, use a calorie tracking app to track your calories and take progress pics every week. I personally use an app called MyFitnessPal. A lot of fitness coaches use this app as well. It's very popular, very useful. It's great to track your calories. And this is also what I did. I took progress pics every single week. That's what also kept me in check and kept me motivated, visually seeing that I was making progress. Notice how I'm saying to take pictures and not to weigh yourself, okay? The number on the scale doesn't mean anything, people. The scale just makes you obsessed and stressed, okay? I used to be there. I used to weigh myself like every morning in middle school. Not healthy. So after you have tracked your calories for 10 to 14 days, divide the total number of calories you consume for 10 days by 10. Or if it's 14 days, divided by 14 to find your average daily calorie intake. Then subtract 500 calories from this number to determine your new daily intake goal for weight loss. So for example, if your maintenance calories are 2,000 calories per day, your new daily calorie goal would be 1,500. Again, I'm not saying this is the number for everybody. You need to first calculate your maintenance calories, track your calories to find out your maintenance calories, and more than likely just subtract the 500 and there you go. As you lose weight, your maintenance calories will decrease over time as well. And you will need to adjust your calorie intake based on your weight loss goals. Still, to ensure a healthy weight loss and adequate nutrient intake, women should not consume fewer than 1,200 calories per day and men no fewer than 1,500 calories. Anything less is not sustainable and just not healthy, okay? Again, if you have a health coach that tells you otherwise, you need to drop them, dump them, because they don't know what you're talking about. Unless you are, dropping extreme body fat for like a bikini competition or the bodybuilding competitions. I know their requirements are very different from like the average person. I know it's way more extreme the way their nutrition plan is. So this is excluding them. Those are the only people I'm excluding in this conversation when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, because it is a whole different ball game. But again, the average person isn't competing in those bikini competitions, and the average person aren't bodybuilders. So unless you fall into those categories, then this information does not, apply to you. Otherwise, 9 times out of 10, this information applies to you. And you guys, we're going to go into another very brief break. When we come back, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some tips for eating fewer calories.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So we just discussed, calorie deficit. How are we able to track this? How can we calculate our maintenance calories? All that good stuff. Hopefully I was able to explain it thoroughly for you guys. I know it may sound like pretty confusing at first, but it's really not. And I highly, highly suggest you guys track your calories, especially if you're starting out. And even if you're not starting out, I still think sometimes it's good to track. Again, it's just going to be based on your goals, your current goals. What are you trying to achieve? And I'm going to be still talking about caloric deficit, just because this is truly the most sustainable way and the healthiest way to drop weight. And I can 100% back this up because I personally followed a calorie deficit diet and had so much success. And this isn't a fad diet. This is, again, sustainable. This works for anybody, will work for anybody. So now I'm going to be sharing with you guys some tips for eating fewer calories. These are tips that I personally did when I started out on my fitness journey and when I was trying to lose body fat percentage. Cutting calories from your diet to create a calorie deficit doesn't necessarily require drastic changes. In fact, several strategies can help you reduce your calorie intake to lose weight and maintain it. And they don't even require calorie counting, okay? If that's like not your thing after the 10 days, okay? So tip number 1, don't drink your calories. Ooh, girl, I would know this one, okay? Because I was in the club 3 to 4 times a week drinking my calories. You may be able to eliminate several hundred calories from your diet simply by reducing or eliminating your intake of sugary beverages like soda, fruit juices, and specialty coffee drinks. Yes, I'm shaming Starbucks because if you are getting a venti mocha frappuccino with extra drizzle of this and extra pump of that, that's not going to help you in your weight loss, okay? Or your fat loss journey. Alcoholic beverages also contain a significant number of calories. You guys, when I first found out how many calories a shot of Hennessy had, I almost had a freaking heart attack, okay? I was shook. That's also what helped me too to not drink for 6 months. I literally looked up how many calories were in a shot of like my favorite tequila, of Hennessy, and that quickly was like, I'm not drinking that, okay? That's like 500 calories in a tiny little shot, and I have 8 of those in one night. No, sir. No, thank you, okay? So that is my biggest tip. Don't drink your calories. Don't drink them away. Food tastes too good to like waste it on beverages, okay? The calories from these beverages don't provide fullness, and in excess, they can lead to weight gain, heart disease, diabetes, all of that terrible stuff that we do not want, all right? Tip number 2 to help eat fewer calories is to limit highly processed foods. You've probably heard of this time and time again, but it's absolutely necessary to limit highly processed foods. The sugar, fat, and salt in these highly processed foods, including sugary beverages, fast foods, desserts, cereals like Lucky Charms, all of these foods, they make these high-calorie foods highly, palatable and encourage excess consumption. They taste yummy, but they're really not good for us. In fact, one study showed that people who are allowed to eat as much or as little as they wanted ate 500 more calories per day on a diet containing highly processed foods compared with a diet containing minimally processed ones. Okay? That's a lot. 500 calories right there. Those 500 calories that you're in excess that you're eating, that could be your caloric deficit right there. Minimally processed foods are rich in vitamins, minerals, and fiber, and include foods like, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, nuts, etc. A diet rich in minimally processed foods will help prevent you from overeating and ensure you get the proper nutrients your body needs. If your current diet consists of many highly processed foods, I suggest slowly and gradually begin to replace those items with the minimally processed ones. For example, I'm using a personal example. I used to eat a bowl of Lucky Charms and Fruit Loops every morning for cereal. And unfortunately, those cereals, as good as they taste, loaded with sugar, okay? Swap those sugary cereals with oatmeal topped with fruit, or you can even swap chips with lightly salted almonds. I know, honestly, it's not my favorite to switch out chips with almonds, but I gotta do it. But in terms of like the cereal, I've switched that out with oatmeal, and my oatmeal, I put almond butter, banana, and agave and chia seeds, and it tastes so freaking good, and it satisfies my sweet tooth, all while, getting those good complex carbohydrates. I get my healthy fat from the almond butter. I also get good carbs from the banana, chia seeds, all that good stuff. And I also would say, eat primarily home cooked meals. Preparing and eating your meals at home allows you to control the ingredients and your portion sizes, and therefore your calorie intake. We all know when you pull up to Cheesecake Factory or, any of those restaurants, they give you a serving size that can feed like 4 people, I swear. The plates are so huge. They're like the size of my keyboard right now. I'm looking at my keyboard and I'm like, yeah, that's the size of like a platter that they give you at Cheesecake Factory. And obviously, portion control is one of the biggest and most important things when it comes to fat loss and just overall health and wellness. I also, another tip based on portion control is your silverware and cutlery, or not your cutlery, but just your silverware. Get smaller plates, smaller bowls. There's a psychology behind that. Because we have a bigger bowl, we tend to think you got to fill the whole bowl, right? But if you get a smaller size bowl or a smaller size plate, you can still fill that plate up, but it's smaller quantity. I don't know. There's a psychology to that, but it works. So let me tell you guys now a study. One study showed that people who cook dinner at home 6 to 7 times per week consumed 137 fewer calories per day on average than people who cooked dinner at home 0 to 1 time per week, okay? Eating home-cooked meals is also associated with better diet quality and increased intake of fruits and vegetables, lower body fat levels, and reduced risk of heart disease and diabetes, okay? And a lot of times, home-cooked meals taste 10 times better than food you eat from the street, okay? And what's more is that eating at home saves you hella money, okay? Who doesn't want to save money? It's really funny, actually, because my boyfriend and I, our date nights usually consist home-cooked meals. I'm the one who cooks because I don't trust his cooking, okay? He'd probably poison me because he does not have any skill when it comes to the kitchen. So I usually cook for us, and I do, these meals during our date nights. And every time we choose to eat out at a restaurant, 8 times out of 10, we are like, we should have just ate at home because, we eat basically the same thing at home than we do at a restaurant. We're paying 4 times as more money to eat the same thing at a restaurant. I guess you're paying for the experience. I don't know. The bottom line, you guys, a calorie deficit occurs when you consume fewer calories than your body expends. And these, again, I'm going to reiterate the tips on how to help with the calorie deficit is to not drink your calories, okay? Don't drink your calories in sugary juices, alcohol, all that stuff. Limit highly processed foods, although most of them taste really yummy, like hot Cheetos as well. They're not going to fill you up, and they're going to make you even more hungry, which, again, that defeats the whole purpose of a calorie deficit because you want to eat less and still be full. And also eat the majority of your meals home cooked, not out on the street. Don't DoorDash the majority of your meals. You're going to waste a lot of money, and it's not going to help you reach your goals of fat loss. So there you guys have it. Hopefully you found these tips for eating fewer calories in a calorie deficit helpful. And we're going to cut into another very brief break. When we come back, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the common FAQs, some of the common frequently asked questions I receive regarding weight loss and fat loss. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So in the previous segment, we started really, I gave you guys my tips on how to eat fewer calories in a caloric deficit. And we're now switching gears a little bit. Going to be talking about, common, frequently asked questions regarding weight loss and fat loss that I receive. I already covered a tiny bit of it. I mainly drilled on calorie deficit in today's episode because that is truly the most important concept you need to understand when it comes to fat loss and weight loss. And now I'll be diving more into, I'll specifically be addressing common questions and concerns regarding weight loss and fat loss. There's a lot of information and misinformation out there regarding the quickest and easiest way to drop fat, aka finding a shortcut. And I believe this mindset is the first mistake people make and why many don't see any progress. When it comes to your diet, your main focus shouldn't be on fast and easy, but rather what diet is sustainable for you and what will work for you in the long run. When choosing or trying out a diet, you need to make a conscious decision and switch your mindset to this is a lifestyle change. This is for the long run. Don't aim for temporary, because if you aim for temporary, you're going to get temporary results. And this applies whether you're trying to lose, gain, or maintain weight. Whatever the scenario is, it's all the same. A common mistake I see happen is that people will start a diet just because their friend Sally did and she lost all this weight. A really popular one I hear is about the keto diet. I hear about, keto is essentially you're cutting out carbs and sugar from your diet. This may have worked for Sally, but it may not work for you. All of our bodies function differently and they don't operate the same way. It may be sustainable for Sally, but it may not be sustainable for you. And this is a common mistake people do. They hop on whatever trendy trendy diet their friends are doing, and then they're left with great disappointment when it doesn't work out for them. And for instance, I'm a perfect example for that. I know for a fact I would not be successful following a keto diet. I just love carbs too much, and I just know that I would be very cranky if I was on a keto diet because, again, you're cutting out carbs and sugar. That's literally energy. And if I'm not feeling energized, I'm in a bad mood, and it's just a terrible domino effect from there, okay? So I'm a perfect example of how if I were to step into someone else's diet, I would not succeed because it's not for everybody, okay? It may work for a few people. I have a lot of family members who do keto, actually, and some of them love it, and they're like, this is like going to be my forever lifestyle change, and that's amazing. That's great. But there are a few who fell off and just like, it's not sustainable. It's temporary. And speaking about carbs, that's going to be our first question that we address and that we'll dissect together. So the most frequently asked question I get by far is, do carbs make you fat? Carbs are they're a hot debated topic, especially in the weight loss world, due in part to diets such as the Atkins, Dukan, South Beach, and ketogenic diet, as I just mentioned. The idea that carbs are bad has left many people confused about carbohydrates and their importance for our health, including maintaining a healthy weight. Carbs are, they're a broad category and not all are the same. It's the type, quality, and quantity of carbohydrate in our diet that's important and that makes a difference. Carbohydrates are one of the three main building blocks, also known as macronutrients, that make up all food alongside protein and fat. These macronutrients are essential for the body to function, okay? Carbs can be further split into three groups: sugar, starch, and dietary fiber. So let's start with sugars. Sugars are simply short-chain compounds, also known as monosaccharides and disaccharides, found in fruit like apples and, the demonized white sugar, okay? They taste sweet and tend to be highly palatable, meaning they taste really good. Starch is a longer chain of sugar compounds. These are known as polysaccharides, and this type includes things such as bread, pasta, grains, sweet potato, basically all the things I love. I love starchy foods, okay? And then lastly, dietary fiber. This is the odd one now. It's also a polysaccharide, but the gut can't digest it. So remember, almost all foods that people call carbohydrates actually contain a combination of all three types of carbs along with protein and fat. Apart from table sugar, it's rare to find something that's purely a carb. That's just not how food works, you guys. So why do we need carbs, okay? Why is there a debate that you should cut them? No, you shouldn't. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I would never, ever, 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 ever in a million years tell any of my clients or tell any individual to cut out carbs. Carbs are essential, okay? Carbs are important for your health for several reasons, and I'm going to get into them right now. First thing is energy. Carbohydrates should be your body's main source of energy in a healthy, balanced diet. Carbs are, in fact, out of all the macronutrients, carbs are your main source of energy. And when you cut that out, you're depleting your energy levels tremendously. So how it gets broken down? They're broken down into glucose, also known as sugar, before being absorbed into your blood. The glucose then enters your body's cells with the help of insulin. Glucose is used by your body for energy, fueling your activities, whether that's going for a run or simply breathing. Unused glucose can be converted to glycogen, which is found in the liver and muscles. If more glucose is consumed than can be stored as glycogen, it's converted to fat for long-term storage of energy. Starchy carbohydrates that are high in fiber release glucose into the blood slower than sugary foods and drinks, okay? So that's number one why we need them is energy. Number two is disease risk. Fiber is an important part of a healthy, balanced diet. I've always reiterate this all the time. It can help promote good bowel health, reduce the risk of constipation, and some forms of fiber have been shown to reduce cholesterol levels. Research shows diets high in fiber are associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and bowel cancer. Many people do not get enough fiber. Most people are worried about not getting enough protein. That is not the issue. You rarely hear of any individual having a protein deficiency, okay? It's just very unlikely. Having a fiber deficiency is very likely. And carbs are able to supplement that, void that, okay? And third one here, why we need carbs is calorie intake. Carbohydrates contain fewer calories gram for gram than fat, 4 calories per gram for carbs and 9 calories per gram for fat. Also, starchy foods can be a good source of fiber, which means they can be a useful part of maintaining a healthy weight. So by replacing fatty, sugary foods and drinks with higher fiber, starchy foods, then you'll be more likely, to reduce the number of calories in your diet. Also, high fiber foods add bulk to your meal, helping you feel full. So again, should I cut out carbs? That's the frequently asked question. Should I cut out carbs? While we can survive without sugar, it would be difficult to eliminate carbs entirely from your diet. Carbs are the body's main source of energy, as I just said. If in their absence, your body will use protein and fat for storage. It may also be hard to get enough fiber, which is important for long-term health. Healthy sources of carbs, such as higher fiber, starchy foods, vegetables, fruit, and legumes, are also an important source of nutrients such as calcium, iron, and B vitamins. Significantly, reducing carbohydrates from your diet in the long term can mean you do not get enough nutrients, potentially leading to health problems. Replacing carbohydrates with fats and higher fat sources of protein could increase your intake of saturated fat, which can raise the amount of cholesterol in your blood, a risk factor for heart disease. So my suggestion would be just try to limit the amount of sugary foods you eat and instead include the healthier sources of carbohydrates in your diet, such as whole grains, potatoes, vegetables, fruits, and legumes to prevent energy depletion. So again, the frequently asked question was, do carbs make you fat? The answer is, any food can essentially make you fat. Okay? Any food can cause weight gain if you eat too much. Whether your diet is high in fat or high in carbs, if you frequently consume more energy than your body uses, you're likely to gain weight. So do carbs make you fat? No. Anything can make you fat if you eat too much of it. Again, the true and most sustainable way to lose weight and to keep the weight off is through eating a caloric deficit. Okay? Caloric deficit, people. And you guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode here at the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. I might actually do a part 2 to this, to the frequently asked questions, just because I get so many and I think it will be valuable and useful information for my listeners here. So stay tuned for next week's, because I think I'll do a part 2 on this. And I hope you guys found this insightful and useful. And again, I want to thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. If you liked what I had to discuss on today's podcast, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, because that tremendously helps the show. And as always, wishing you all a very happy, healthy, and successful week ahead.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.